I wanted to talk a little bit more about climate change. My history with awareness, growing awareness of climate change came around the early 1970s when I was in my 20s. Seems like a very long time ago now. People have been trying to bring this issue to the world's attention for decades now. And I heard that the Amazon jungle was being deforested in those days. I heard that the ice caps were melting, beginning to melt in the Arctic Circle. And at that time it seemed like it was a fiction, really. How could it possibly be that the great Amazon jungle could possibly be deforested to such an extent that it is now? And it's complex. There are economical reasons why, resources such as wood, timber, or land that had to be, where the trees had to be removed because the farmers needed to graze their cattle there. And so complex. People living in poverty who need to have work, who need to be able to survive, you know. And so all the issues of climate change ultimately have been very complex because they're kind of mixed in with economy and finance. Now, I'm not any expert in any of these things, but it didn't take much expertise to understand really that this gradual erosion of natural resources that we have all taken for granted would ultimately become untenable, unsustainable. Western people, such as myself, have lived in relative prosperity, varying degrees, you know, and I've been immensely grateful to have all the creature comforts of being able to, you know, drive in a car, have electricity, have all the resources to do wonderful things that sometimes we tend to take for granted. And at the same time, knowing that when you live in a consumer society, actually you're doing harm. The whole system is doing harm. It's a tough thing because it's very hard to reverse things that we've become acclimatized to. And my trips to developing countries taught me, you know, very graphically that half the world lives in desperate poverty, barely even able to access clean running water or to have food to be able to put on the table. And in contrast, where Western world at the time, you know, I'm thinking back now, there was talk of descriptions of mountains of milk, lakes of milk, mountains of butter, meaning, sorry for my confusion, lakes of milk, mountains of butter. The excess, basically, the excess of the things that Western world take for granted as something that we'd always have. And in fact, we have so much of it that we'd have to throw away the excess so that the market prices could be balanced. The sort of madness of the systems that we end up with, you know, Kenyan green beans being flown across the world to another country that will buy. These are the markets. Now, I don't claim to understand all of this, but there's one thing is very, very evident, that none of it is sustainable. None of it. And coming into climate crisis, climate emergency, at a point where if we don't do something, it is completely irreversible. I mean, there's no fact about that. There's no doubt about that. When Greta Thunberg, this young girl, tells the adults, you have left us with this heritage, this legacy, where we don't even have, we're thinking we don't even have a future. That's obvious. It doesn't take a person of great intelligence not to see that. And yet, how do we put the brakes on? This is the really complex thing. I mean, definitely if it's possible to, consume sensibly, to to save water, to buy produce that is organic, but expensive, I know, this is the point. Very challenging actually. What are the effective steps that can be taken by the ordinary man or woman in the street that can actually make a difference? Now, I think consumer power is very, very powerful, very strong. If people decide en masse that they're not going to consume something, that hurts, that hits the economy. That really is something that people can do collectively. But I think the thing is, all of us are in a state of sort of suspended denial. Of course we are. What else? How else can we be in many respects? And it's not until, it hits us really strongly, in the sense that if you live in New York, if you were there a few weeks ago, you saw the flooding in the New York subway. Do you put that together with climate change? Kind of is. The weather is changing. It's New Orleans. They've had so many hurricanes over the last few decades. Just untenable. The southern parts of America, they're being hit by the most extreme weather cycles. In the west coast of America, fires coming, destruction, Lake Tahoe. Never thought that these things would happen, and they're happening faster than ever. When President Joe Biden said only a few days ago, yes, we have a climate crisis. My God, what took you so long? I mean, with all respect, yes, that's what we need to hear. It's true. It's true. At last, it's true. Is it too late? I don't know. But we can't be messing about with this. As many gatherings and conferences and meetings and discussions and conversations that people in high places are having about the climate, it's action that really makes the difference. Action, not words. So I've been just talking off the top of my head, all my thoughts. Well, not all my thoughts, just some of them. I love having the kind of conversations, if you like, that I can have on Instagram. Whatever Instagram is, whatever Instagram means, whether it's just noise or whether it's a chance, to add some thoughtful processes to encourage, to inspire anyone who comes on this platform that I have, this tiny little Instagram platform. If it's helpful in some way, well, it makes me feel good anyway. So over and out from me, and the great leaves of the jungle on my wallpaper here. Much love.